All right, welcome back, collecting folks. Sean here with BlueRidgeSilverhound. Yes, I'm here to deliver another Pocket Change market report. I'm happy to bring this to you each and every single other, Wednesday and Saturday. I don't want to do more than that. Yeah, that's not how BlueRidgeSilverhound operates, but I love talking about the coins that we all find out there in the wild. Now, what does the wild mean, right? It has a few different definitions and all that great stuff. But typically, any coins that you come across by going through regular change, maybe some change was handed back to you at your favorite coffee shop in the morning. I don't know. If you're still paying in cash, you're going to get change. But also, folks love going to the bank and picking up bankrolls, and they do this little activity called coin roll hunting. For the longest time, it's always been about what kind of silver can I find in there, but now people are beginning to recognize that errors and varieties that come out of these rolls are worth leagues more money than any old silver piece that you could find. All right, so that's something, that's picking up a lot of steam here during the holidays. People are cashing in their chips, getting ready for the holidays, and it's up to you guys to look at fresh new material. Hopefully you guys are coming across it. I know there are folks that are still having a hard time picking up these bankrolls. So always be determined, always ask. But ultimately, there is one other way that a lot of folks either add to their collection or resell for making that extra secondary living, and that's cherry picking your local coin shop or show. Real simple, coin dealers, a lot of them don't really care about the minor stuff, right? But there's a whole hidden market that exists online, like on eBay, and that's where we generally get all of our data from, that they collect some of the coins that are quite minor that those coin dealers don't care about. So you pick these coins up just for whatever they're asking for them in terms of date and grade and nothing really else. And then you sell it for a considerably large margin. But also you could add something pretty nice to your collection as well. So there's a couple different ways that you could find these. And again, like I've stressed before in every single PCMR, none of the coins are graded. That generally adds in a huge amount of cost. If you're using PCGS, for example, as a grader and you want to attribute an error, it costs like $60, $65 just to grade that coin. You better make sure that the coin's worth a lot more than just that in order to really reap the rewards that's associated with finding these. All right, so we're going to go ahead and check in on the top, 25 coins that have sold here in about the last, 36 hours. We didn't have to dig very deep to find some of the most incredible finds. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. On the way out, go ahead and check me out also on TikTok if you're looking for much shorter videos. I'm on there as well, at BlueRidgeSilverhound. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what kind of gems people have been finding. All right, starting out with this one right here. Speaking of the devil, coin roll hunting $50 is still a thing, although coming across actual rolls of $50 is a little bit tougher than it used to be. And the main kind of focal point to these was really searching out those 40% and 90% silver halves, which are also drying up, but there's still some caches to be had out there. So you're going to be looking for these secondary type of coins, like the 72D that you see here. A very unspectacular date on its own, but there is a nice little error. All right, this is actually one of our variety rather, and this is one of the more tougher no FG initials reverses. This one right here has the FG right here in this little area between the tail feathers and the little turkey leg. That's not a turkey. I'm just saying that does look like a turkey leg, like if you're going to a state fair. But in this particular case, you see just a slight little remnants of FG. And I know full, complete, missing FG initials, and that's caused, by the way, by a little bit of over-polishing from a mint employee. But the examples that exhibit absolutely no FG remnants on there sell for a lot of money. I'm talking like $40 to $60 for a coin in this condition. However, this one, we do have just a slight little amount of remnants of those initials on the reverse. This one ended up selling for $16.90 with 4 total bids. Keep in mind, that's approximately 3.90% silver half dollars in today's market. So, why would you not want to look for these? That's my only question. And there's a few other dates to be on the lookout for, and they're all in the cherry pickers guide, like the 82P, 83P is another good one, 72 Philadelphia with the missing initials, and then the Denver one that you see here is typically known as the much more scarcer of the 4. So this one right here is a really neat find. I think I've probably seen maybe 2 or 3 other examples like this, and you have to wonder, is there a much more later state of this type of, I guess, die break or cud or whatever you want to classify it as? But it exists on the 2021 Philadelphia-Washington crossing the Delaware quarters. Now, you guys probably see it, but here's a little bit more of a close-up of that die crack that goes from the rim into the 2 through the bottom bust area of Mr. Washington there, and then out through the other side that you see there. Now, normally things like this is a precursor to a full-blown cud. Are there examples out there? Kind of hard to say. I haven't heard of any or seen any on the secondary market, and mind you, I keep my ears close to what happens on the secondary market. I don't think the mint employees allowed this one to get that terminal enough in its die state to allow a full breakage. I just don't see it, and I haven't heard of it from any other avid error collectors and hunters of this type. But this is still an erstwhile coin, all right? Now, is it considered just a retained die break? Kind of hard to say. I really don't see a lot of displacement, which is something that you normally want to see. Like when you look at the number 2 right here, normally you'll want to see a shift, all right? From the part of the 2, that top kind of like tail, and then when it connects to the rest of the body of the 2, there's no shift or displacement there. So some would say that this is simply just a rim-to-rim die crack. I would be okay with both. The pictures aren't the best, but man, this is a really good close-up of what you're looking at here. Surprisingly, these have a little bit of value. This particular example sold for $26.95 with 15 bids. That is an incredible amount of money for something that most people would overlook. I mean, this is quite minor on all accounts, but you should always look for this. I would say it's probably naked eye visible, but always use a magnifier to be sure. Oh, this is a neat one here because it's on a much more modern version of a $20 bill. Now, this is what they call the big head version of the 20 that started in 1996. However, it wasn't colorized. All right, so the big worry was these things were prone to counterfeiting because it didn't have that extra added security feature on there. But what really makes this note cook is it has that just obvious omission of print right there going through the portrait of Andrew Jackson. They call this a gutter fold, where the sheet actually had a wrinkle and then it was printed over. If you look on the reverse here, you can see that the wrinkle was never stretched out during the back print process. So you do have also a omission of print as well here. So this particular note ended up selling for $58.21 with 15 bids. This is not the first time that I've seen a 1996 bill of any sort with a gutter. I've seen 50s, 100s. The 50s, by the way, are really neat because it's just a really cool looking denomination. But always be on the lookout for these. Oftentimes you'll come across them when the note hasn't been stretched out to reveal it. So you'll notice like a line that goes through the bill. And if you do a little stretchola with a note, then it'll uncover a gutter, which is pretty cool. It's quite minor, but still worth a lot of money. Coins and cards ahead again with another 1972 Lincoln Memorial set that exhibits the doubled die obverse, the big one for the date. They call this also the FS101 in the Cherry Picker's Guide. But all you have to do is look at the date, liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust," and you'll know exactly what you're looking for. This thing is wickedly dramatic, very strong, and very desirable. The prices for these just continues to hold strong where they're at for acceptable examples. This one's not even graded. So this one ended up selling for $471, 41 total bids. From what I do gather, Coins and Cards like to sell their coins just by regular auction format. They don't, go through the whole rigmarole of trying to sell these as a buy it now type listing. They do really well with the photos and the close-ups and things like that they just, would rather sell them through regular auction. And when you have big, high-profile coins like this, maybe that's something you guys should consider doing, throwing it up for 5 or 7 days. Just really putting the confidence in the marketplace that these things will obtain the necessary amount of bids for these to sell at what the market is today. So here's one of my favorites. I have a few examples of this, and I like them. And they used to be worth a lot more. Now, I haven't quite revealed what this one sold for, but it's not up to what it was at the time that these released. But this is a 2022P Sally Ride American Ladies quarter with the die clash error, most notably seen on the reverse. What's cool is the seller actually did a 2x2 holder. It wasn't crazy, dramatic with the photography. No, big glares or anything because of lighting issues. Found on October 9th, 2022. So this was a relatively recent find, even though the Sally Ride design has been out for, 5-6 months now. It released before the summertime. And a little bit of a close-up. You could see the clashing here right over her shoulder. This is the clash of George Washington, by the way. And then here's some more pretty strong clashing next to E Pluribus Unum. So again, very nice. These things used to be $25-30. They haven't retreated too much far off those highs. This one sold for $19. And I would say it's still a worthwhile pull out of circulation. Now the coins will obviously become more circulated as you go, but this one's in decent enough shape that it was able to obtain a nice little chunk of cash. The seller of this note had mentioned in the listing title that it was miscut, all right, and that's a little bit misleading. It's a little bit wrong there. This is a different type of error other than the miscut. So you'll notice that it looks like it is miscut, but when you look at kind of like the other parts of the printing process, in this particular case, that overprint with the district seals and serial numbers, you'll notice that it's shifted to the right. And actually, it's not really shifted at all. It's that first initial print with George Washington and that beautiful intaglio print that kind of frames the note is actually the part that was misaligned on the note. All right, so the third overprint that you see there is perfectly aligned with the actual size of the note itself. When you look at the reverse, it's perfectly centered. So this kind of refutes the whole miscut idea on this one, and that's fine. That's a pretty easy thing to mistake, and it takes kind of like an eagle eye to recognize that, along with recognizing your general basic terminology for currency errors. So this one right here ended up selling for actually a wildly large amount of money. $325 sale here with 36 bids on this 2003 $1 Federal Reserve note. Again, you look at everything and it's like this is a note that collectors really do want. Usually we see just really a minor type of misalignment of the overprint. But when it's like the first or the back print that's misaligned, I mean, that's a whole other level of collectability. So we did have a fair amount of currency this week. Here's another one here. This is a 1969D $1 bill. I mean, this thing has had a rough life, but believe it or not, nobody really paid attention to the serial numbers, especially the left side right there, where the last digit in the serial number is what they call a stuck or turn digit. Some would call it a gas pump style turn digit because you have a partial of one number and a partial of the next corresponding number on that number wheel. It's really cool because it's in between. You can see both numbers on there, but really can't. It looks like it's probably a 6 and the top of a 7 because it's a flat bar. It is. I mean, just look at the right side serial number and it is a 6. So really cool, even in this condition. I mean, who cares? That type of wild, turn digit is quite collectible. In this particular case, the note sold for $99.95. And again, always something to be on the lookout for. Even the kind of like the mild turn digit errors are still worth, a lot more than $1. So always recognize that, pull them out of change and save them. Here's another one right here, another dollar bill. Seems to be the top pick for the week. Look at that, quite a bit of insufficient inking on the front of the note. I mean, this thing you could see a mile away. The overprint with, again, the district seals and serial number are all quite strong. So that's a completely different, separate printing process to apply that. So the first initial print on the front there was missing quite a bit of ink. It didn't lay properly, or the ink wells ran dry, all right, which we've seen. It could happen. This one right here ended up selling for $228.98. A really good sale for this one. All right, we do have a few kind of like minor errors to be on the lookout for. Here's a 1960 large date Lincoln Memorial with an apparent curved clip. You even have a really nice noticeable Blakesley effect, which is a flattening of the edge opposite to the clip, and that's normal. All right, that's what you want to see. It has to do with the metal flow and how things are a little uneven there. So this one looks like it's circulated. It's got fingerprints on the reverse. Sold for $13.17. Again, I wouldn't necessarily toss these back. They're worth quite a bit more in today's market, even though this is one of the more minor errors to come across. And here's another good one to look out for. Not the prettiest example, but it's a 2015 Lincoln Shield cent. And this is one of the nicer doubled dies that you could come across for this particular date. You can see the doubling on the date, just how everything's all stretched out. But check out Liberty as well. That is also phenomenal looking. I believe this is DDO, I think, number 6, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong. There's a few different ones for this date, and it's always a popular date to search through because this one is actually not too scarce. And, with a little bit of hunting, you could find these. And again, pictures are everything when you're selling these varieties. The coin sold for $10.26 with 8 bids. I know gem examples, they hit like that $20 to $30 mark. They're quite affordable, but there is still a nice rip when you find it. I wouldn't necessarily turn my back away on $10. It's not too bad on just a penny find. Now, this is something right here. We have a true binary serial number, which are zeros and ones, in tandem with a star note. I mean, this thing is off the rails awesome. On a little bit newer 2017 Series 10. The note it's got some circulation on it. It's not terrible by any imagination or stretch. But yeah, when you have a fancy serial number combined with a star, that is hot. A fancy serial number by itself is still a heck of a find, but this pairing right here is really lights out. And it shows with the sale price, $153.94 was the buy price, and someone scooped it up. All right, so you're trying to figure out what to do with all of those unwanted high print run star notes. Bundle up together, sell them, like this seller right here who has been constantly doing it. I think this seller is also one of those folks that constantly goes through a bunch of $1 bills looking for those 2013 B's duplicate stars. I think I've seen a few of his other auctions, and he's sold a few of those. But anyways, all of these other high run star notes can be packaged together in batches and sold as a group. Here's $90 face value right here. This one ended up selling for $139.49. You're not going to get rich doing it, but you'll probably end up making about $30 profit off of something like this after fees and shipping. All right, now we're finally back to a few coins. Here's the 1967 Lincoln Memorial, a little bit tougher date with an off-center strike. It's about 50% off-center, and these are collected by dates. This particular coin is sold for $20, so not too bad. It's kind of like in the middle range as far as scarcity. It's not the most rarest, it's not the most common, but when you do come across it, and this one, by the way, has circulated a little bit, recognize that, you know, they are desired, you know, by collectors. All right, so here's another big one, and it's big in a sense that it's on a Denver mint coin and not a Philadelphia. Now, why does it matter? Well, Denver is traditionally known for its lights out quality control. Like, normally they would not let stuff like this out, but we have a coin that, I mean, it's apparent on the reverse that it was struck through just a big, huge gob of grease. That was on that reverse die area. And when you have that kind of volume of grease, and obviously they were lubricating the parts, the moving parts of the presses, and that's why you have grease on the dies. But when it strikes through all that grease, it's going to illustrate a considerable amount of weakness. It won't strike up all of the details and devices on relief on the coin, so it's going to look like this, you know, in spite of the fact that the front of the coin looks well struck. So yeah, Denver folks, you guys on the West Coast now have something to look for here. This particular coin ended up selling for $90. Whoa. I wasn't expecting that. I saw that final sale price. I'm like, that can't be right. But $90. I mean, you know, again, don't toss these back. They didn't used to be worth that much, you know, like 5-10 years ago. They used to be like a $10 bill for these. But yeah, there's been a spike in interest for these. And here's a little bit of a minor off-center 1981p Washington quarter. It's in decent shape, and it does exhibit a partial tilted collar. So the collar was a little bit tilted during the striking process, therefore leading into, you know, a little bit of an off-center strike along with that kind of stepped railroaded edge on there, where only half of the reeds was struck onto that edge. This coin right here sold for $15.30, so not too bad. It does have a few issues, a few nicks. It looks like there's some a scratch there on the obverse behind Washington's head, along with some roller marks as well that go through the date. Not the perfect example, but it's one example. Pretty nice, undated Roosevelt dime. It's off-center by about 60-65%, I would say. Very attractive, very minty. This thing was discovered very early on. Sold for $49.95. Great example. Roosevelt dime off-centers don't pop up on the market too often. And when they do, you know, they will sell eventually. It's only a matter of when and not if, because it's one of the tougher denominations for this era. All right, so getting back to gutters, oh, man, this thing is amazing. And the older the note, the more that it shows, because the inks on these much older notes is a lot more darker. They're vibrant. They're amazing. There's just something about them. This one has two gutters, and it's kind of like fanned out the bill a little bit on this 1950B $10 bill. You can see on the reverse as well. The wrinkles were stretched out after the fact, after the note's been printed and all that great stuff. So where did this one end up at? How about $184.89 with 28 bits? Well, this one made headlines about a year ago. The Tuskegee Airmen with the strike through on the reverse that's conveniently placed right on the building, which is the Airmen's headquarters, is the perfect placement. And that's why these things have garnered so much of an interest in the error community. kind of like the In God We Rust Kansas Quarters, and the Crown die chips on the Washington Crossing the Delawares, and so on and so forth. This one has a few kind of like separate strike-through anomalies. One that's right under the airplane wing right there. It looks like a mortar or a missile flying off the thing. It's actually really cool. So where are we out on this one? $84.60 was the final sale price with 17 bids. These sold for a lot more, but at the time you could find them in minty fresh condition. This one, not quite there. This one has quite a bit of circulation wear. Oh boy, I haven't seen one of these in quite some time. It's a Washington quarter. We don't know what the date is, but it has a pretty sizable cud right over the date. Now, this is a completely different date than all the other ones that we've seen, which I firmly believe were from like the late 70s. They don't have a date, so all we can do is speculate. But this one has an actual physical P mint mark, which means it has to occur after 1980. That's when they added the P mint mark on there. But you can see the same place weakness on the reverse over the words states and part of America and of. This one right here sold for $54.90. A pretty good steal considering that this particular cud hasn't really showed up on the marketplace except maybe a few times a year. There's something scarce about this one where you're not seeing nearly as much activity from it. All right, so Wilma Man Killers have been the quarter of 2022. Here's yet another one you could add to the list. A few of these have been found, but this is kind of like the big old wart right on Washington's nose, which actually is a small die chip formation. All right, if you're gonna try and look for the big cud or the double-sided retained cud error for Wilma Mankiller, you might as well add this one to the list as well. No, this is not a few dollar coin. This one ended up selling for $58.40 with 25 bids. Quite a bit of interest, and I would be willing to bet that a few of you have probably tossed this one back. Not my more experienced roll hunters, but some of you that don't roll hunt as hard and heavy as some of those other guys. This is one that is easy to toss back if you're not looking for it. Well, speaking of Crown die chip, we got one right here on the Washington Crossing the Delaware. Can be found on both Philly and Denver minted coins. So again, you folks there on the West Coast have an opportunity to find some of these. But yeah, pretty nice sized die chip that goes into E pluribus unum is the main feature on this error. This one right here sold for $75 with 12 bids. So still very valuable. Not what it used to be as of last year, but keep in mind, these coins are 1 year through circulation. So if you find them now, they're not going to be in as nice a shape as they once were a year ago. Well, more modern quarters. Now, this one is actually pretty neat, and maybe there's something here with this one. So one of the hottest coins today, and I'm actually going to do a secondary video sometime here in the near future about the top 3 2022 quarter errors that you need to find before the calendar flips to 2023, is going to be the doubled die reverse Maya Angelou quarters, which exhibits the doubled earring. Now, here's the close-ups of a couple of very important parts. The earring part looks like it has a doubled earring, but at the same time, it looks like it took a hit too. It's kind of hard to tell from these images because they're so kind of grayed out and there's not enough depth to these images. There's also the formation of a corner of mouth drooling die chip is what they call it on this one. Could this be a new doubled earring? Don't know yet. The coin has to be sent off to Dr. Wiles. Hopefully the owner of this one will do just that because the original seller did not do it. So this one right here, $29.99. Again, if they're attributed as being any one of the 3 known attributed double die reverses for this date, these things have been selling for like $35 to $50. The prices have doubled literally overnight on these coins, and they are not going to slow down. So hopefully, best of luck to the buyer of this coin, that it is going to be something. We'll see. So the last edition of the PCMR, I had the 1998 wide AM Lincoln that was in pretty nice shape, sold for $90. And I thought, and a lot of other people did as well, that, whoa, that market's a little bit high on that coin, because generally a 98 WAM, a wide AM, is not quite worth that much money unless it's like a super high-end graded coin, you know? So here's another one that I would say is in much better shape with more red to the copper on there. Is the 1998 wide AM reverse. There's the space in between the A and M, could be a more, clear, and a little close-up of the initials as well. The initials are a little bit different on a wide AM than they are on a regular one. So this one sold for $35.50 with 3 bids. This represents a sale that is starkly different than the other one that we had highlighted a few days ago. Here's another one of those Tuskegee Airmen strike-throughs on the reverse. This one's not nearly as robust, but it's still a really good $79 sale for this one. And then finally, we're going to end it off on this coin right here. And I'm telling you guys, do not ignore laminations any longer. These used to be the butt of the joke as recently as like 3-4 years ago, when you couldn't even give them away for a song. You just couldn't, because they were one of the most common errors that you could come across in coinage. And lamination is just impurities in the metal, and when you have impurities, the actual layers will begin to flake off and do all sorts of things. In this case, this is a 1964, I guess, Denver. There's enough there that there was a Denver mint mark, or you could tell there was. But yeah, that's a pretty nice size detached lamination peel that had come off of the obverse of the coin. So yeah, this one here ended up selling for $26.49 with 13 total bids. I think people, because of how expensive other errors are becoming, are collecting into errors that, were at one point inexpensive. All right. $26 is still cheap, but would you pay that for this 5 years ago? Absolutely not. So these are being collected by date, and the bigger the lamination on the coin, and if they're double-sided, that's where a lot of the value is. I've seen some of these in much like bigger, wilder, kind of size laminations sell for $50, $60, $70. So hello market. These things have all, have continued to stay very much alive, and people are looking for more of these. Well, that's going to go ahead and do it for your midweek edition of the Pocket Change Market Report. I am your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. It was a vast pleasure to share this one with you. Don't forget to love, share, subscribe, and follow me on TikTok at Blue Ridge Silverhound if you'd like. If you enjoy and dig on the shorter form content, I got those as well. But that's going to go ahead and wrap it up. You guys, get to hunting. All right. Hopefully this video was inspirational enough that you're ready to go out there and, pick up some rolls of coin and paper currency. Apparently, dollar bill straps, pretty easy for, face value. You don't have to pay a premium, but that's it. Yeah. Get to work, guys. Let me know what you find. I'll see you next time.